Race for the White House this final weekend before Election Day, and the latest Real Clear Politics average of national polls. Take a look at this. President Obama barely edging out Governor Mitt Romney by less than 0.1%. So what do the candidates need to do in the final push? What's going to happen? Let's bring in our campaign insiders, the final edition before the election. John LeBoutillier, former Republican congressman for New York. Pat Goodell, Fox News contributor, former pollster for President Jimmy Carter. Doug Schoen, he too a Fox News contributor and a former pollster for President Bill Clinton. All right, you get the first shot at this. What do you make of this poll?
First, we're in an absolute statistical tie. That much is obvious. When you go through the swing states, there is a slight, and I emphasize slight, but clear advantage for President Obama. It's also possible we could have a result where the popular vote goes to Governor Romney and President Obama wins the Electoral College. It's that close.
In other words, 2,000 redo.
Not so fast. I lived this in 1980. We've seen the president gain, I think, both from what we've talked about before, the incumbent last week bounce, as well as the hurricane, Sandy, and the gift from Governor Christie. But at the same time, we have, now the people are reacting differently. I'll tell you, in 1980, the race was tied on Saturday night, went to 5 points for Reagan on Sunday and 10 on Monday.
And then it was just a landslide.
And then this race has been even all the way through.
That's why, if it breaks, but that's what, well, we'll see.
So
if
it could still break this
If it
late,
breaks
Pat?
Only a few points, that's all you need to move on.
So, Pat, just go ahead and tell me who it's going to break for.
I don't know. I'm just arguing the other side. I'm just saying
I knew you wouldn't bite at that one.
It could break for Governor Romney.
No, when we get Gallup back, look, Rasmussen Day has him back up at 51% job approval. We're going to find out whether the day is
Gallup have Romney up by 6 not long ago?
Yes, but he's been out of the field. We'll get a poll tomorrow from Romney.
Greg,
and then
let me
from the
say
Gallup,
one thing. Pat mentions 1980. I happen to be a recipient of this wave, and I rode the wave to get elected along with Reagan and a lot of Republicans who weren't supposed to win that year.
Right.
That's the one thing that is still somewhat here in this race, which is passion differential for Republicans. They're definitely more pumped to go vote to get rid of Obama than the Obama people are to keep Obama.
All right. Want to put because voter enthusiasm is really important. Fox News has polled on this. Let's put this up on the screen. Romney has an 11-point lead, if my math is correct, among extremely interested voters, right?
Yep.
Let's go to the next one, which asked how important is it to you that your candidate should win, and there's a 10-point lead by Romney.
Well,
here's what this means. This means that the Obama campaign, unless they have a very, very robust get-out-the-vote drive, what's called GOTV, are in trouble. But what we're seeing is with the amount of money being spent to drag people to the polls, to call them on the phone, to otherwise importune them to turn out every way possible, the voters who are less interested are arguably going to have as much enthusiasm as those who the polls show.
Doug, we have talked, Greg, amongst the three of us on all our shows for the last year, trying to figure out, is this year, 2012, 1980, the late break, throw out the incumbent Carter?
Yeah.
Or is it 2004, a fairly unpopular incumbent, Bush and Obama, running against a stiff from Massachusetts, Kerry
Seems
and
to me
Romney.
like 2004, John.
Yeah, and in that case, the Bush campaign had the best get-out-the-vote operation.
What about this? Every poll, Pat, that I look at shows that independent voters are breaking for Romney anywhere by 5 to 10%.
If you tell me what the party breakdown is on Tuesday, I can tell you the exact breakdown of the election.
Right.
If it's even in party as opposed to 5 points, which our poll had at Fox, and the independents are breaking for Romney, then it's a win. But if it's a couple points Democratic, it could be different. The fact is that the close here, and I do want to say this because it's important. I believe if the Republicans lose this election, Romney loses, they can look to abandoning Obamacare and then recently abandoning Libya as an issue.
Daring to be cautious, Pat. Daring to be
holding the ball is always bad.
I'm not sure they abandoned it. It could have backfired if Romney himself had really gone after
it. But
it.
here's the thing, Greg.
By his not saying a word about it, however, by not saying what he's done is allowed the mainstream press, but they haven't even been doing it.
Greg, really, when you look at where we're at today, there was one 90-minute period, October 3rd, where Mitt Romney was a dynamite candidate. dynamite.
Sometimes that's all you need.
I don't know. I think against an incumbent who wasn't challenged in his own party, who's got a big machine, this is still a little uphill, I think.
Let's
for
put
Romney.
the Real Clear Politics electoral map up, because it's really unchanged from the last time I think that we looked at it. President Obama is at 201, Romney at 191. You got to have 270, but there's been no real change.
Greg, that is exactly right. But if you look at the individual polls in the yellow state, which are the states that are undeclared,
that's where Obama has an edge?
He has an edge in Iowa, he has an edge in Minnesota, he has an edge in Wisconsin,
Nevada.
and most of all, Ohio and Wisconsin.
That puts him over the place on those states. I saw an Iowa poll with Romney ahead.
You know,
I saw one where he's ahead in Florida.
Look, Florida, I think, is going to go to Romney, North Carolina and Virginia, but of, say, 15 or 20 polls in those swing states in the Midwest,
I'm not sure
they're all breaking 85, 90% Obama.
I'm not sure I buy any of them at this point. I think the polling is so difficult right now and the people's response rates. I'm just saying this, hey, by the way, some pollsters, we will have an execution on Wednesday for somebody.
I hope it's not me, Pat.
Well, I hope not either,
John,
for your sake.
The last jobs report came out on Friday, and unemployment number ticked up from 7.8 to 7.9. Does that make a difference?
Probably not. I think it was enough so that Obama can keep talking. And let me say about the hurricane and the jobs report. The hurricane forced Obama during the last week to do what the three of us have been saying for a year.
Be presidential?
Be presidential, be positive, don't get nasty towards Romney, which is so unpresidential. Be above it, be morally a uniter.
Yeah, but, you know, listen, all the news stories, and there's still 2.5 days to go, are that, you know, FEMA has dropped the ball on this thing. He's in charge of FEMA. I mean, it happened to George Bush during Katrina.
Greg, what is happening now is that Obama had, as I think John rightly pointed out, 4 or 5 good political days, notwithstanding the tragedy that hit the Northeast and the Midwest. Bottom line, there are 2 days left, but the issues of Libya, the economy, have been off the table, benefiting President Obama.
There have been so many news stories, Pat, maybe not enough, that the handling of this thing by the White House and the president in particular has been incompetent, the Libyan issue.
Well, no, it's been worse than that. What they're doing now is putting out disinformation to cover up the canard of their.
It's got to hurt the president.
It's got to hurt. It's out. You look at the Fox poll.
But it's
on
only
his
Fox,
handling, on his handling of the job of Libya. He's got a worse rating than he does on the economy.
Right.
Half
so
the
where's
people
Governor
say,
Romney
let me finish my point, Doug. half the people are saying that they believe that they are covering up purposely. The problem is Romney and the Republicans.
That's what I'm
have
saying.
never said, and so therefore, because they're not saying it, the mainstream media has a reason. They don't have to cover it.
See, you can tell there's only 2.5 days left because the boys are getting really tested.
We're all run out of here.
Exactly.
Everybody's on edge. Pat, let me ask you and Doug about the undecideds here. What percentage of voters are truly undecided? How would they break?
Well, remember, there are a few percent that are pure that are announced undecideds. There are some persuadables, some lean both candidates. Traditionally, and I keep arguing this because I think it's missed, during the last week, the incumbent often gets a bump early in the week. The very late undecideds, the very last ones, usually go to the challenger. How many there are, we don't know this time, but they're not many.
Well, give me a ballpark.
I would say
7%?
5 or 6% of the vote is still movable.
I think it's about 5%, Greg. They're likely to break 3 to 2, 3.5 to 1.5 for Governor Romney. So the key statistic is where President Obama's vote is. Bush was polling about 48%, just got over the finish line in 2004. This feels to me like a similar situation, notwithstanding what Pat and John said.
I do think that we are somewhere between 80 and 2004 for one reason. 2004 didn't have the economy that dragged that this was.
All right. I want to switch because we've been talking so much about presidential politics. There are other elections going on, principally control of the U.S. Senate. John?
Well, first of all, I think we're going to keep, Republicans will keep the House. I think everyone now acknowledges that. The Senate, the Republicans need a net gain of 4 to take over the Senate. I've been telling everybody I know, Obama may win, may not. But if the Republicans win the Senate, keep the House, we box in Obama. He can't spend money, can't raise taxes, can't do anything
and it's
if we
gridlock.
control
But John, I don't
Congress.
think it's going to happen. I think the Democrats, worst case, lose a couple of seats. We end up 51-49 or 50-50.
Unless you get a break and it drags a couple of these other races over. The Republicans had it all their way in the Senate, and through
couple of mistakes,
bad luck, some bad candidates, and some incredible statements.
Murdoch is down. Aiken is down.
Yeah.
Scott Brown's likely to lose.
Bob Kerry's catching up in Nebraska.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get there.
Yeah.
So the unfortunate remarks, highly criticized and controversial, of Murdoch and
2 Senate seats.
Right.
Yeah. 2 Senate seats. One a gain and one a loss.
And last time there were 3 Senate seats. Weak candidates lost for the Republicans.
But the reason this is so important is, I believe, is that the Libya thing, if the Republicans get the Senate and the House, and Obama were to be reelected, we're having a mini Watergate hearing because it's all going to be the same thing.
We're also going to have a fiscal crisis, Greg.
And we have fiscal crisis.
We have the deficit in 2 months. If we have a divided Senate, if the popular vote goes for Governor Romney and the president's reelected, who knows what could happen.
He said he's going to take wash Mitch McConnell's car and take out.
After this campaign, which Doug and I have written about and wrote about again today, after tearing the country apart in divide and conquer, the Republican willingness to do business with him, I think, is probably
by the way,
a lot,
Greg,
on
one thing that Doug didn't say today, but he said it to us before, which is very important, is if we have that split ballot, in other words, they vote, popular vote for Romney, electoral vote puts Obama over the top, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Doug is very smart about it, that this is going to delegitimize the winner.
Right. Well, to some extent it did in 2000.
It did.
And
very much.
40% of the people
Greg,
of America.
we could have an election here where everybody agrees on the counting of the votes, unlike 2000, but have the system delegitimized with a fair vote.
How about 269,
well,
269?
I'm not sure
well, that's even worse.
That's
even worse.
That's a great, but you're going to hear so much screaming and yelling about fraud. I want to tell you, if you have that outcome, we will, the second time around, 40% didn't believe.
Who knows? We'll wait and see.
The president was legitimate.
Gentlemen, it's been a lot of fun. We'll wait and see what's going to happen on Tuesday. I would, yes, ask you for your predictions, but I'm told you will refuse to give me.
Absolutely.
Till Monday.
Till Monday.
You can call me Monday morning.
Right.
As soon as I see the last
You can watch our show Monday morning.
We'll watch our show Monday morning.
All right, there it is. You can get more from Campaign Insiders every Monday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, live.foxnews.com. You guys have no courage. You could also follow them on Twitter at FN Insiders. We will be right back.
They're truly craven.